I started doing this about 15 years ago, and got retired. I retired from Buick Motor Division in Flint, Michigan, and the tool and die end of it, and moved to Florida to get away from the cold weather and the snow, etc. And I decided to start making knives, so done a little research and talking to different people how they done it and everything. So I ended up with, I got a couple grinders and a little heat treat oven, hardness tester. So I do everything myself, small lathe and a small mill. And I do everything myself. I make all my thumb studs. The only thing I have to buy is the steel, the sheet steel. If I use titanium liners, I naturally buy the titanium in sheet form, and then I cut it out in any configuration I can figure out. And same way with the steel for the knives, I work with different steels. Do a lot of Damascus.
What got you started in knife making?
I started it. Say again, I didn't hear you.
What got you started? You said you bought a handmade knife and you thought you could do better.
Oh yeah, that's how I kind of got started in it. I was looking for a nice knife for hunting up north, and I bought it, and he didn't do a good job making it. The heat treat wasn't right. I got some chipping in it, which would indicate he didn't draw it back right. So I said, well, hell, I can make one of these things better than this guy. So essentially, that's the way I started, and then I started finding equipment, what I was going to need to start off with. I had a good friend of mine that was still working. He used to do my heat treat for me. He retired, so I bought an oven, so I do my own heat treat. It's not really complicated. Got a hardness tester, like I said, got a hardness tester.
Tell us about this one here.
This one here started out, this is a accumulation of about 3 or 4 years. I started out with an entirely different, and then I just kept changing it. Pretty soon it came into this. And it's, I call it the Mobi. And it's a liner lock. This one doesn't have titanium liners in it, but I can make them, with titanium liners. These happen to be 4130, and Damascus steel, and just you don't see too many things like this running around. Just a little different, but it did take me a while to get the final design on it. And actually, this is a prototype, an earlier one, and I was having trouble with the hole. Some of these were breaking up here when I'd heat treat them. So I changed that a little bit on the one that I sell now. Made the hole a little bit smaller. This one here is a liner lock, titanium liners, and I've got walrus tusk on it. And the top half, the solid part, is the outside of the tooth, and the bottom half is what they call the tapioca, or the center of the tooth. And it's the same way on the other side, with Alabama Damascus and some Okame bolsters. Everything's all ball. I do the ball bearings in my higher end stuff. This has got a set of 10 ball bearings on each side. So it makes it really, really smooth, nice to operate. Got a nice lockup. That's all the tricks to it. And there's nothing on there that's going to rust. Everything on the inside that's G10 for a backspacer, titanium liners. The only thing that might accumulate a little rust is on the very cutting edge where the bare steel is. You just have to keep it oiled up a little bit. And these over here, similar designs, just dressed up. This one's a computer board. And I had a friend of mine that works next door to me. He works in a factory where they build the boards, and occasionally he'd bring home a scrap one for me to work with, one that wasn't populated. And so I fixed that up to go with this. There again, this one's got D2 steel, thumb stud. It's a nice little knife to carry, real light, closes up nice. But you don't see too many of the computer board things around. There's a few other guys that build them, but they're pretty hard to find. if that's what you're looking for. Kind of it's an eye catcher, really. This one here is what they call a cross-cut tusk. They make a little box and they lay it in the resin, and it fills in all the vacant spots, and then they cut it up into little slabs, and this is what you end up with. And like I said, they call it a cross-cut tusk. The bolsters on this one, front and back, are M3 composite metal. I really don't know what it is. It's quite pricey. I bought it from a guy that lives in Clearwater, and anyway, it's really light. It just adds something different. You just don't see that often around very much. You get a Damascus blade, very smooth action, ball bearings, makes a difference. This one here, got nickel silver bolsters and dyed coral for the inset, and it adds a little bit of weight to it. It's a little bit heavier than the crosscut. Got a titanium thumb stud. Blue backs face are the same, so everything's the same color, kind of a blue accent to it. And there again, this one's got ball bearings in it. And titanium liners. Makes for a...
Is that fossilized coil?
Yep. This one came out real nice. It matches up everything really well. It looks nice. You don't see that many of them around. Anyway, that's kind of my collection of what I got. I do some fixed blades. I don't do a lot of fixed blades anymore. Do more working knives than anything. Things like this one here. Some of them I haven't made a stick or a straight blade in probably 7 or 8 years. I had a bunch of them and I kind of sold them off, so I had to jump in and build a few of them so I can keep some. It's a little variety on the table. And I do most of my own leather work, stuff like this for the sheaths for the knives. And the folders, I put the little I ain't got any right now. One of these little pouch for them, so you can carry them around. You ain't gonna beat them to death in your pocket. Most of these higher end ones, they don't. Guys don't make. Some guys buy a real nice one just for dress. Then they have another everyday knife that they carry. So just give them a little pouch, and it stays in the pouch mainly. Doesn't get beat up and pocket wear doesn't get into it. So that's basically what I do. Been doing it for. We've been in Florida about 15 years. I started really getting into it when we moved down here, and then I got a little shop that I can work. I kind of trade off with a guy in Brooksville, do some work for him, and because I got a lot of experience with grinding machines, milling machines, and stuff like that. So I'll surface grind my blades after they're heat treated, and then we'll just kind of trade it off that way. He doesn't pay me, but I'll do some work for him, and it works out pretty well that way.
All right, James, appreciate it.
Thank you much, Lou, and you guys have a good day.